I've always been fascinated by the power of what-if questions, and today we're diving into a big one. Picture two very different worlds. In one, a billionaire blasts off in a gold-plated rocket, while in the other, a teacher grades papers late into the night. Now, what if we took just 10% more from that billionaire's fortune? How might that change things? We're about to explore the twists and turns of economic policy, and trust me, it's going to be quite the ride. When we talk about the ultra-rich, we're zooming in on a tiny sliver of society, the top 0.1%. These are the folks who have more zeros in their bank accounts than most of us can imagine. But just how much wealth are we talking about? Well, if the global economy were a pie, this small group would be feasting on nearly half of it. Now you might be wondering, how did they get so much of the pie? It's a mix of factors: successful businesses, smart investments, and sometimes, let's be honest, a dash of luck or inheritance. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite their massive slice of the economic pie, many ultra-rich individuals often pay lower tax rates than your average nurse or teacher. Let that sink in for a moment. Now let's examine our current tax system. On paper, it seems pretty straightforward. The more you earn, the higher percentage you pay. It's called a progressive tax system. But in reality, it's more like a game of chutes and ladders, with the ultra-rich often finding the express slides to lower tax rates. Imagine a giant maze where money tries to reach the tax collector at the center. For most of us, our cash follows a pretty direct path. But for the ultra-wealthy, that maze is full of secret passages and trapdoors. We call these tax loopholes. Through clever accounting, offshore accounts, and special deductions, billions of dollars can vanish from the taxman's sight. It's all legal, but is it fair? That's the million-dollar question. Now let's zoom out and look at the big picture of wealth inequality. Imagine society as a pyramid. In a perfectly equal world, it would look more like a rectangle, everyone with similar slices of the economic pie. But in reality, it's a steep climb to the top, with the ultra-rich perched way up high. Here's a mind-boggling fact. The top 1% own about 38% of the global wealth. That's more than the bottom 90% combined. But wealth isn't just about fancy cars and big houses. It's about power, influence, and opportunities. When wealth concentrates at the top, it can create a cycle where the rich get richer, while others struggle to climb the economic ladder. This growing gap has got economists, politicians, and everyday folks asking, is there a better way to balance the scales? So what if we tried something bold? Let's imagine a world where we introduce a 70% tax rate on extreme wealth. Back in the 1950s and 60s, top tax rates in the US were actually over 90%. And yet, the economy boomed. In today's global economy, could such a high tax rate work? And what might happen if we tried? Let's say we implement this ultra-rich tax. Suddenly there's a river of new revenue flowing into government coffers. But where does all that money go? This influx of funds could potentially transform communities. Imagine better-funded education programs, more robust social services, and increased research into pressing global issues like climate change. The idea is that by redirecting some wealth from the very top, we could lift up society as a whole. But would it really work out that way, and how would the ultra-rich react? Critics of high taxes on the ultra-wealthy often paint a picture of billionaires packing their bags and jetting off to tax havens. It's a compelling image: luxury yachts sailing away with the nation's wealth. But others might stay put, tied to their businesses, communities, or simply their love for their home country. Historical data shows mixed results. Some countries have seen wealth flight after tax hikes, while others haven't. Opponents of taxing the ultra-rich argue that it could have a chilling effect on the economy. The idea is that if we tax the wealthy too much, they might invest less in new businesses or expand existing ones more slowly. On the flip side, supporters of higher taxes point out that the economy is driven by many factors, not just top-end investment. They argue that putting more money in the hands of middle and working-class folks could boost consumer spending. So, which view is right? Well, economists are still debating this one, and the answer might depend on a whole host of factors. Let's hop in our economic time machine and look at some real-world examples. Countries like Norway and Sweden combine steep tax rates with robust public services, and many citizens report high levels of happiness and satisfaction. Then there's the flip side, the United States in the 1980s. The Reagan era ushered in significant tax cuts, especially for top earners. Critics point out that it also coincided with a widening wealth gap. These real-world cases show us that tax policy can have profound, sometimes unexpected effects on society and the economy. As we wrap up our economic journey, we find ourselves at the heart of a great debate. On one side, we have those who argue for higher taxes on the ultra-rich in the name of fairness and social good. On the other side, are those who worry that such taxes could stifle economic growth and innovation, potentially hurting everyone in the long run. Economics isn't just about numbers, it's about values, priorities, and the kind of society we want to build. As you ponder this complex issue, ask yourself, what do you think is fair? How do we balance individual success with collective well-being? Is taxing the ultra-rich at higher rates fair? Would it work in today's global economy? There's no simple answer, but by engaging with these big questions, we can work towards a future that balances prosperity with equity. If you found this exploration thought-provoking, hit that subscribe button for more animated deep dives into the big questions shaping our world. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep the conversation going.